Dare I ask?
Ruptured Achilles.
Okay.
It's like my third day out since April.
Oh, sweet. Now I know where I am and see you walking around. I thought to myself not long ago, I don't know.
No, I haven't. It happened in California sometime in the end of March. I was playing soccer with my 8-year-old granddaughter. And suddenly I took a step back. I said, "Who threw a rock at me?" What? Leg. And the only thing behind me was a dog. So I knew exactly what it was. So I called my daughter-in-law, who's a physical therapist, and had my wife do this test that they do. She said, "Yeah, you got it."
So you had it repaired out there?
No, because I was leaving the following Tuesday. That happened on Thursday. So they tried to get me out there to do a MRI, but I couldn't get one. So I just came home.
Made an airplane, all,
Yeah,
don't worry. That had to be a fun trip home.
wasn't, well, actually, JetBlue was really great because we had seats in the back. And I said to the woman we checked in, I said, "Is that gonna be a pain to be out in the back?" She said, "Oh yeah, I'll get you up." So she gave us, so we had that extra
But good.
space.
The escape route.
Nobody was next to us. So I can't be on anything on my foot to make it first.
You got one.
And doctor, the occasion I can walk on the boot for 2 weeks. I start therapy on the 23rd.
Clean, because I don't have my office.
So you clean one. So I say do the other. It's a, doctor described it as having, my open job, having 2 horses tails. And he has to cut them so they're straight, and then he has to suture them. So I have like 6 inches of stuff. Yeah, it's been fun. But I decided I was gonna do Zoom, and I said, you know what, it'd be nice to get out. I went to town meeting.
I saw you.
Yeah. I was meeting.
Now I know why I didn't see you move.
I had my
The
new
sun was
scooter.
at the back of it, so you in the front.
Yeah, no, I had my new scooter. And I've been this conservation this week. Minus the doctor appointment, I was in 4 times around the house. Yeah, bylaw pass.
You're saying it seems like it came and went.
The bylaw itself, or?
We're up to, but the bylaw, right?
Yeah,
By the time you get to the 24th.
yeah, well, our bylaw passed too, when we the 33rd.
Well, we kind of took a bit of a
Here.
rhythm with the board meeting.
Agenda, laptop.
The selectmen and the finance committee are proactive in their advocacies so that you're not really spending a lot of time on town meeting.
The library had 3 open houses and 4 or 5 meetings, we had 8 public hearings. So when the guy stood up at the end and said, "No, I think we're ready to vote on this, because I haven't really had time to read it." Paul Huggins said, "Well, we've had 8 public hearings." It's been in the, it's been on the walk, it's been in the town website since we voted on it in March. I'm writing a grant for the national. I don't know. Maybe doesn't take a lot.
Right.
After service, would you guys know?
I'm looking.
Stay there.
I mean, I like an academic.
All right, thank you.
Listening to what is, you're talking
We should get started.
about.
Mr. Nicanello, you should put that emoji on your lawn signs. You're becoming very well known for that online persona.
I
So, if you guys don't mind.
Touch you down. Best you should.
Welcome to the sixth meeting of the Water Advisory Resources Committee. We get started, let's take attendance, make sure we have a quorum, which I'm sure we do. John, Mark, here, David, here. Lee is online, seems to have left the screen, but he's here. Mary, George, here, and Will is in here. All present. Just right into our consultant updates. Who wants to go first? Luke?
Chairman, I'll start with the water resource recovery facility, the groundwater discharge permit. So we continue to have meetings with DEP every 2 weeks. We've had meetings on April 9th and the 23rd, including staff from Southeast Regional Office as well as from Boston. So we seem to be making ground with them. One of the things, just want to reiterate that the focus initially is on the Buck Island Road site, get permit issued for that location because of all the history of the data we have on it before we start looking at other sites. Some good news is that the hydrogeologic evaluation that has been done for that site, DEP is satisfied with. They've actually drafted an acceptance letter. They're just waiting to hear from the wetlands group on what some of their comments or concerns might be. So we think we've accomplished that hurdle. Right now, the on agenda item C, the town and CDM Smith's assistants are in discussion with Bayberry Hills Golf Course for some additional irrigation land. I'll defer to Mike because there is a sketch in the package in his progress report. We met with, or I should say, the town's wetlands consultant, Lars Worsley Witten, has met with Mass DEP Wetlands Group from the region, as well as the town's conservation agent on April 17th. They had a site visit. They identified some wetlands that they thought were concerns, potentially vernal pools, but since after the site visit, they kind of eliminated that. So that's good information as well. That we're making ground with the wetlands folks. There is a wetlands monitoring plan that Horsley Witten is drafting for submission to DEP as well as to the Conservation Commission. Because it was originally scheduled to be done on May the 2nd, they asked for a continuation until May 16th. So we're hoping that they have it ready in advance to get to the Concom to review as well as the DEP. And our next workshop with DEP related to groundwater discharge is tomorrow morning. Related to the,
So before we go to the next section, a couple questions. The acceptance letter that we're anticipating for the groundwater discharge at BIR. What are the amounts associated with that?
so the 0.37 million gallons per day.
And just, what's the idea, I guess, percentage wise of what we.
30% of the capacity of phase one. Concerning the total phase one flows, we're going to average about 1.2 inch. So
And we're at 0.4 and we're looking for 1.2. Will has a question.
Yes, quick question. Just in letter B, whenever I see something where an agency says they're waiting for the other part of the agency to do something, I always go, oh, poop. I actually use a worse word, but I'm not going to do that because it's a public meeting. So I'm assuming that you guys are aware of, it's very easy for them potentially to say, hey, we can't do any more. We're just waiting for the wetlands group. It's in their hands. And I just wanted to say for the record that I hope that we will continue to push and not maybe be as polite as we have to be more, because it is May 6th. So I hope when you see that, you also realize that this is not an opportunity for them to delay, it's an opportunity for them to hold some other people accountable and continue to meet our timeline. Thank
So the wetlands group out of Boston has wanted to come to the site as well. They wanted to wait until more of the vegetation has, trees have leafed out and vegetation started growing. So that's scheduled for mid-May. Really, the
Oh, I see.
purpose of the workshop is to bring all the parties together in one forum. So we do have representatives from wetlands and hydrogeology there, as well as the regulatory side. So if one of the agencies is holding something up, that's the form that we use to get it out on the table and let them know. You know, they gotta start talking to each other.
And also, I recognize you're taking meeting after meeting after meeting, and you're crunching it all down into a summary
10 bullets.
memo that then gets presented once a month. So I'm totally recognizing that as well. But thank you for letting me at least bring it up.
Right, so as far as the water resource recovery facility design, the final design, we did re-advertise for the pre-qualification packages. Packages have been coming into the DPW office. In fact, we just met with Laura and picked up 6 packages for the general contractor. And then there's multiple packages for all of what's called the filed subbids, all of the sub-consultants. We'll go through those packages and pre-qualify the firms, make sure that the packages are complete. But the anticipated advertising date is still May 29th. That we'll be putting the advertisement for bids in the central register for the treatment plant.
So really 6 different companies that could build this thing.
Yep. And they're the same 6 that responded the first time around, and we're happy to see that they still have interest. So it'll help get us some bids when the bids come in, more competition, so it's better. Related to the collection system, I'll defer to Mike and I don't know if David, if you had anything to add on the permitting, if it came in.
Let's have a give Lee a shot in case you have any questions at this point, Lee.
Nope.
All right, just making sure that still with us. Modifications to the final design would be necessary to convey trees and upland to additional groundwater disposal sites. Okay, what does that mean? Are we working on that?
Well, from Buck Island Road, as the plant is designed, it could be discharged to the ground. As we're looking at Bayberry Hills Golf Course or even the other Station Ave site, they're in the proximity of the drinking water wells, or for the irrigation, there's additional levels of treatment, so a higher level of disinfection and potentially total organic carbon removal before you can put it in drinking water.
Okay, does this refer to getting it to that site? Before, in addition to.
That's the additional
treating that site?
piping.
Right, okay, so this is something we were looking at previously. I'm encouraged that it looks like it's gonna go out as a separate bid, so we'll have a real price tag for it at some point.
Yeah, it's not currently under design because we don't know what the design would be, where we're going, or what the treatment level would be. But it would be a separate package other than what's already been designed for the treatment
So
plant.
it wouldn't be incorporated into what's in the designs.
It's out for bid now.
Up to what
Would be up.
separately, so at that point, we're gonna know what it's gonna cost, and then it'll be competitively bid. But it will be in addition to what we already thought we were gonna spend on the facility. Great, just making sure we're all on the same page, because we can solve the problem of where to discharge it, but it's gonna cost some.
Yeah, and one of the reasons we're focusing on the Bayberry Hills area is because there is a force main that connects the 2 sites already. bringing F1 down now. So we just try to reverse that flow, reuse that pipe.
It's also nearby.
use that second-
And we have time. The critical path right now is getting approval for Buck Island Road. So we can get the project bid and awarded by October 31st, which is the SRF funding deadline.
Any questions? So you were moving on to election?
I was gonna defer to Mike, fill us in on status of.
Sure. So in terms of construction, you know, contracts 2 and 3 are currently in construction. Contract 2 has 1 week crew working up on Route 28, past Old Main Street. Contract 3 actually has 3 construction crews working, 1 on 28 and 2 on South Shore Drive. Contract 3 in particular has faced some challenges, to put it lightly, in terms of dewatering on South Shore Drive in particular. So we've been trying to work through those, town and with the contractor. And actually, as of today, one of the crews, their dewatering efforts were causing some issues, so they were instructed to stop the dewatering operations until come up with a different solution.
Is that a function of season?
It's
Certainly difficult now as opposed
It's
to.
a little more difficult now, but it's obviously,
Yeah, but it
Always.
could be worse. Yes, there are periods of time that are drier typically than it is now. But I would say from our observations, the groundwater is lower than it is this time of year typically.
Couple of questions. I don't know the accuracy of this, so I put that forward. I read on the internet, highly questionable whether it's accurate or not. It was a broken water main. That's true.
they did have an issue last week.
Water main.
Water main,
Water services as well.
which happens,
Yeah, I
of course, in construction,
Sure.
debate whether this one was a reasonable situation.
With regard to surface water on the street, not knowing, but asking the question, is it possible to somehow put less water on the street surface?
I'm not sure, in terms of the dewatering for the
Yeah.
front, yeah, so I think one of the crews toward the eastern end of South Shore Drive. They were putting, because they were having issues trying to discharge back into localized area.
Mm.
Back into the ground surface, the solution that was agreed to by everybody was to send that water to the street. Part of the issue, you probably know, is that the drainage system in the area doesn't have sufficient capacity to handle the water discharge, because it's all just leaching, leaching basins, so. As I said, they've had issues trying to figure out what to do with their dewatering discharge. The solution for that particular crew was to put the water in the street.
Can I assume that stormwater that's driving sand into the catch basins would be addressed at some point if that happens?
Yeah, I mean, they'll have to clean out, they put filter socks in each of the catch basins, so there shouldn't be any additional of what was there prior to their construction.
Thanks.
Item 2-3.
I assume that's why all the electric pumps were put like every street corner, they anticipated the water being an issue.
Correct, because as
But
Jeff
it's
said,
probably
it's-
bigger than.
Yeah, it's for the pumps.
yeah, they're not having an issue pumping the water out of the trench to get a dry trench.
Right.
The issue is where does the water
Where's
go?
it go? Right.
So they put what they call a deep well systems, they dug a series of groundwater wells about 60 feet apart and put pumps in there and they do water the trench out. It's just an issue. Being able to send that water somewhere far enough that it doesn't impact.
And while we're on South Shore Drive, will we be starting the pumping station at the end of May, work through the summer with that, or will that also be put in advance for the summer?
No, all indications from the contractor are that come Memorial Day, they're gonna leave town until the fall. They haven't started any shop drawing submittals anyway, John, so they wouldn't have the opportunity to work on that this summer.
I've got one homeowner friend over there, trying
Sure.
to ask peppers me his question.
Yeah.
and I promised that I'll get back, share what I know.
Yeah, they haven't submitted any shop drawings yet, so that obviously takes time.
So it pretty much will pack up and will be gone for the.
That's what they indicated at our last progress meeting last Thursday. We have another meeting with them this Thursday. They did say that could change if they decide they want to keep working.
We got lost in the shuffle, I'm sorry. We are, I saw May 22nd and May 24th stop days, but that's really 28th.
No,
They're not allowed on South Shore Drive either, just because it's seasonality. Street, so they'll be packing up what the town has asked by,
So they'll be working only on the old Main Street part through the summer.
that's contract 2, that's correct. So RV hours on contract 2.
It's only on Route 28 anyways, but, so we never intended to go past Labor, Memorial Day?
No, so just to be clear, work is allowed around the calendar. They can work in the summer, they can work in winter. There are restrictions for Route 28 and South Shore Drive, and that's it.
Right, but I was referring to the restrictions from 28, I thought were July and August.
Memorial Day to Labor Day.
Yeah.
That's a mascot and
And to also be clear, I know we're kind of blending contracts 2 and 3 discussion, but our is intending to work on Old Main Street and the Forest Main that will continue work Long Pond, a Forest, a Buckeye, and that's this summer as well.
And the pumping station back of the pancake man?
not
this summer. Similarly, they haven't submitted shop drawings, John, so that would come later this year. Early next year.
Continue, or what other questions?
Yes, sure.
Your notification for property. I'm sorry, that was loose.
Yeah. Well, they went out on contract 3. So it was 2 months ago, and then on contract 2 last month. Our inspector's been responding to questions and calls by property owners. I think they're basically, and they've received some of the questionnaires in the mail. So I think they're just about done with responding to property owners.
I've seen a couple of the letters that require drawing. Folks were a little confused because it was rudimentary. So that's a good thing. You can do whatever you want with it, but you gotta need those back.
Yeah, we've got a number. I don't know how many responses compared to houses.
Are you seeing adjust changes to the plans based on
There's a
that request?
fair number of changes, nothing significant.
I think a lot of it is education. Not everyone knows where their outlet to their pipe to their house comes from, or how it's going to get to the front of the house. That's where we're making slight adjustments.
Well, that's the purpose of the process. When you designed them, and you designed the location, the connection, you knew what the septic system on that property looked like. So you weren't just throwing it in with haphazardly.
In most cases, yes. Not all the records are. If you try to check out what they look like, in some cases, they're pretty rudimentary in terms of sketches. But for the most part, we try to line it up.
So there's significance of the being allowed to advertise contract 4.
So contract 4 is the area at the Route 28, both Main Street, Old Main Street intersection of New Bass Bridge that was previously part of that MassDOT roadway project. So we talked about before, that's been pulled out, at least the sewer portion, water portion of that work is going to stay with the MassDOT roadway project. DEP, we had asked a few months ago if the town could move forward with that, bidding that project, sewer piece of it, and they gave approval to do that. So we're working toward finalizing that design and getting that out to bid. It's a very small project. And the hope is to get that work done prior to the roadway project starting. So that was one of the main intention of getting that out to bid this spring.
Okay.
So work could start in the fall.
First, on your other notes, it said that the project was delayed, in fact, delayed to the spring of 2024.
Correct. Yeah, I think the MassDOT project is supposed to be advertised for bid this fall.
Yeah, in August.
Yeah.
And the other part is that, you know, you got two contractors already in town, so theoretically, they should bid that aggressively to just add that work on.
All right, related to the SRF loan application, the town did make a formal request for an extension through SRF. I don't believe we've heard back yet, but we have valid justification to ask because it's being held up by DEP essentially. And as I mentioned, the wetland monitoring plan is in the process of being completed, a draft for submission to the Conservation Commission prior to the May 16th meeting. And we did hear that DEP is, use the term very cautiously, drafting a discharge permit for Buckeye. So they're getting all the language together, instead of including monitoring and limitations on flows and things. So we're still gaining momentum. I think it's going to come down to this site visit with the wetlands folks in Boston. The monitoring plan, essentially. Blessing. And have to make an actual groundwater discharge permit application. And there's a 30-day comment period on public hearing. That's everything I have.
Questions on the Wright Pierce report?
I have a question. The contractors that are bidding on the facility, they're bidding on a design that's not been defined. And that also may have some modifications. How does that work? They know that, but they're still willing to bid.
Well, it has been finalized, so the plant is designed for its original intention
Okay.
and capacity.
But there's a possibility of modifications because.
Correct, and the intent would be that would be bid as a separate project, not as projects.
And it was, the original design was always laid out for expansion of whatever processes would be needed.
So provisions were made to add whatever additional treatment might be needed, they're just not included in this.
Before we jump to Mike, do you want to go over the any changes on the contract schedules? It seemed to be significant changes here on the May 29th bid versus.
No, the schedule is for the advertising, and then actually we have more of a detailed schedule on the water resource recovery facility. Pre-bid conference is scheduled for July. We plan to have the filed sub-bid opening July 30th. And the general bid opening would be almost a month following, in August 27th. We're allowing for almost 3 months bidding. With anticipation that we would have bids evaluated in September, and they would be ready to go to council for approval in early October.
Let me know when that on-site.
Yeah, we'll hear tomorrow, and then I'll send a message out. Okay.
Thanks. Do you want to use your deck? Do you have the slides?
Yeah.
Thank you. So a lot of this we've covered already, first couple of slides, the update, Nikki, on the letters for recovery facility. Pretty much covered everything there. A couple of the other milestone dates that we just mentioned were on go to the third slide. Bottom of the third slide, just the plan specs available end of May, file subject open in July, agenda subject open in August. Next slide, please. We covered most of this. We talked about the construction of contract 2, contract 3, ongoing, and some will be wrapped up in the next couple of weeks. Contract 4, again, we discussed that. Trying to get that contract up to bid in the next month or so. And again, the idea is to have the construction start after Labor Day so that the work can be done before the Mass Dot Railroad gets done. We're also pushing ahead on contracts 5 and 6, which is the other part of 28, and looking to get that up to bid by August so that the contracts can be awarded by the October 1st deadline. Next slide is just a figure showing contracts. You've seen that before. We covered all of these items in the news report. Again, NOI hearing is continued to May 16th. So that's when the one complaint presented. And the last item we indicated as well, the Bayberry Hills Golf Course, has been some discussions in terms of them taking additional treated effluent. The next slide is just a conceptual layout of what that might look like. There's talk of enlarging an existing pond of what the fairways in order to facilitate taking additional flow. Indications are up to perhaps 500,000 gallons a day they might be able to take the golf course. Substantial amount of flow. There's still some work to be done there. Land use control is just a carryover. All indications are that it's been approved by SRF folks. We did just get the contract for MassDOT permit, just advanced to the next stage. It's at the 75 to 100% review stage. Contracts 5 and 6, we just got comments back from MassDOT on Friday, so we're working to address those and get that turned around. Working on the NOI and RDA for contracts 5 and 6, get that submitted next couple of months. And then the ZBA hearing for pumping station 5 that had been continued to April 11th. Hearing got closed, a special permit got approved. We're just waiting for that documentation for the permit actually to be written and awarded.
Question. The contracts 5 and 6 comments that we received on 5.3, were there any surprises?
No surprises. I haven't worked my way. We just got them Friday afternoon. There's a number of them, so we've got a few people taking a look at them and have them report back to me. Surprising. There's a number of them. It's a long stretch of roadway, so it's not.
Just for it looks like you're doing this diligent amount of work as you can be the amount of them and just sort of working going forward as much as possible. Looks like it covered the agenda. So we want to create any necessary slowdown. If you guys have anything else you need to download, any questions? on to some of the other items. The, any and all of this attended town meeting to some degree. So we had, a couple of items that were addressed there. We have any changes to our financing scheme and things that need to be addressed in town meeting other than the housekeeping article to money it sideways to make it available for use.
We have 3 articles. We accepted mass general laws that authorizes the board of selectmen to lay out and finalize the wastewater system. We adopted a whole comprehensive wastewater bylaw that specifies the manner in which the assessments are going to be made for the betterments and the system is going to be laid out. Some of the rules on that. So 2 big watershed pieces. And we also put, I think it was another 3 million in pre-funding into the wastewater program. And we also, and this was a great suggestion from our new finance director. We had been previously appropriating funds to the enterprise fund as sort of our holding bin, and we're moving money out of the enterprise fund and into a wastewater stabilization fund, as it has different rules for investment, and we're able to get higher yields. All of the funds that we have, we hope to have by the time we start paying back the debt service on this project, approximately $10 million in pre-funding. That's a lot of money. And all of those funds will be invested in the highest yielding investments that we can get in that fund, you know, the interest phasing funds. That's good too. Those are 3 articles from town meeting. And it was ironic that some guy was giving us hell about investing money, so we didn't have any investment, and here we were investing even more. So that guy will be fine. No, he wouldn't.
I didn't have my stock on, so I'm sorry.
So just as a general question, maybe not even specific to the bylaws that we approved at town meeting, but it's incorporation now into our bylaws. Who's the resource? Who do you ask about the bylaw? You need to understand the bylaw. This is definitely the town hall, aside from yourself, who understands the bylaw.
Bill Scott's our resident expert as well.
Okay, so
He's Mr. Wastewater.
there will be occasions when issues arise and the sewer commissioners who are also the board of selectmen will say, this is me, what are we allowed to do, what can we do, so on. We'll have that sort of resident expertise, if you will. I just found one section of it a little bit vague. Sure, it's there for a purpose. I don't want to take time out really to find out exactly the situation where it might arise when we would be looking at that section, but suffice to say that there's a process by which you can ask the questions and get the answers. Something needs at least.
Absolutely, and also there's a person at town council's office that you know, we were like this going through the details of the bylaw. So if there's a question that stumps us, we do have legal resources that were just very strongly involved in drafting every aspect. So it's one of those things, if we don't have an immediate answer, we can get one real quick.
And I'm presuming that we didn't write this from scratch because this has to be approved, it has to work with state law as well, so you can't just sort of write whatever you want. This is very familiar language used before, and it works for us as a result.
Definitely adapted.
Fair enough. So George.
You mentioned that there was a difference in investment policy made that Jennifer pointed out. What is the difference between the fund that was in and the fund that Jennifer recommended?
If you're in a stabilization fund,
No, I mean just the investment.
Oh, what
How does
exactly?
investment
You're gonna have to speak to the finance director, on that. I don't know like the specific instruments that it's invested in, and what the comparable yield is and what the benchmark is for one versus the
I
other.
mean, it took
But I'd like to get
investment
that.
grade, and I don't know if there was something in term also, just curious.
Yeah,
I'll ask Jeff.
and I will too, I'll find out exactly, I just know generally that if it's in a stabilization fund, it comes under one set of state rules. And if it's in the enterprise fund, it comes under a different, it's treated more like cash.
I mean, my sense is that investment grade ultimately is gonna be the criterion, and, you know, the difference in basis points is negligible.
Well, I want to have a cryptocurrency.
Oh,
I don't think investment policy.
And we're sort of zipping through the agenda here. Let me come back to public safety. We've been doing this now for a month or so. We have 2 or 3 weeks left in the construction season. I'm sure we'll experience some of the delays along Route 28. Everybody, this is your chance if anybody's got any issues with how we're handling the construction so far. It's a good time to bring it up.
What I will say, Mr. Chair, is that the Waze app, I think, has been very helpful. I've got some feedback about that. That, you know, some have said, oh, I know where I'm going, I'm just gonna drive there. But, you know, given the dynamics with regards to the project, the Waze app has really helped people, especially if you're typically used to just driving right down 28, it might show you Buck Island Road or other options that, once you pass Town Brook, all of a sudden you're committed, you know. So using the Waze app, I think has been very helpful. I've seen some good results from that and heard good feedback from that. That's what I would highly recommend to continue steering people towards, as well as the construction, wastewater construction tab on our town website. We continue to update the 3-week look ahead schedule, which is the one that we have the best information on with regards to where each crew is working. And that's updated as soon as we get that information, we put it up there as well. So, 2 important resources.
Yeah, I think our being proactive, put the information out there for people to use has been great, but in reality, you're gonna experience delays and unexpected things happen. So far, we haven't heard from anybody that this has become onerous. Okay, that's my greatest fear.
It's a good cause.
We're gonna be sitting for half an hour, maybe.
Waiting for a system that's gonna work. So I mean, if I sit there in traffic, I go, well, I can handle this because sooner or later I'm gonna get a system that works.
So my system growing up here was, if it was July and August, we used Buck Island.
Oh, yeah.
Even think about it.
No.
So.
Years ago,
Getting flashbacks to.
Cape Cod Times an article on back roads. They got more hassle from around. How dare you tell our citizens? So no, it's, I think we all know the back roads.
Yeah, if there was an issue, you'd hear about it.
yes.
Yeah, I mean, again, you don't want it to affect the long-term viability of the project, of having to approve and appropriate pieces of it in the future. Last thing you want is, so you remember that traffic jam I was stuck in for 6 hours? I'm not with this thing. I'm digressing a little bit, but since there's no major issues there, and financing hasn't changed, so we've gone through town. We brought up the prospect of going into the public in the fall to reintroduce the components of the project as they've changed or become reality, the holes in the street and bids, the plan and whatnot. So it's on our agenda. I'm not sure I have any specific to say other than that we all still think it's a good idea. We should keep it on the agenda and try to affect it in the fall. With that, did the selectmen require any direct communication from us anytime soon? If we had something we wanted to say to them, I'm sure we'd be afforded the opportunity to do that, but in the reverse, are they looking for anything from us?
No, I would say that in lieu of having the RAC in directly, we've had on the selectmen's agenda a very regular wastewater update from Jeff and his team, and he sort of represents the RAC there. And we have another one that's probably coming up next month or something like that. And I mean, if you're interested, we can have you in, but the way the selectmen have been sort of working it is we take all the information from here, and that's working with Jeff's team, and then we come in and we have our updates with the selectmen, so they've been briefed on all of these same sort of issues.
Now, I've followed the meetings online, and Jeff is handling our load, but if you need to be lessons if you want. If nothing else, some moral support there. I'm sure some of us would be happy to do that as well.
I think once we get these benchmarks, contracts, etc. Timing would be good for the performance.
If there's anything else from the board? Lee? This is your chance. In case
No, I
it's
think
not on the
everything's
agenda,
going
you
pretty
want to bring
good.
something up.
I did go down to the South Shore at one point, and I noticed the road was a little flooded out. I guess the dewatering operations weren't quite working the way they were hoping to. But I don't know. They started the construction on the site over at Long Hill? Long Pond? The old water tower site where we're gonna put the pump station? Is that contract too? Is that-
Yes.
Lee, do you have a volume on your computer you can turn up?
Let me see. Okay. How's that?
That's what I'm saying.
Can you hear me now?
We got the gist of it. You had a concern about contract 2 around the Long Pond Drive area?
Yeah, the pump station there. I didn't quite catch. Are they gonna continue to work on that pump station through the summer?
No, they're using it as a sort of laydown area.
Oh,
But
okay.
in terms of actual construction of the pumping station, that won't start until later this year, I would say, early next year.
All right. That looked like they were getting ready to dig a hole.
Not yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're doing anything with the water main there, maybe. Change that.
So it's gonna be done
Fire
first, right?
service. I don't know if they can start that.
We're still basking in the glow of that groundbreaking and the offers from other department heads to be available to this committee, particularly the chief of police. If anybody would like to have them in for updates, briefings, maybe even just their perspective of what they're seeing out there, they would be happy to do that. Conversely, we also have representatives from other boards on this committee. There's issues that either you want to bring to our attention or we have questions about, what we can kind of do for that as well. But for future meetings, if you're looking for more information from that's relevant, add another board committee. I think we could call and ask them in just in collegiate manner. Outside of town hall, when the time comes, I'm not sure we're there yet. A lot of the questions I've been getting have been around paying for the individual property owners' costs and how the financing scheme would work. So that's something we're going to be addressing in the fall when we're out in public again. In other words, betterments can be put on your tax bill. But the improvements that you have to make to connect to your own system may be financeable, should be financeable by the county aqua fund. Although others, some property owners may be to do that privately as well. Along those lines, it occurred to me that it's not a bad piece of business for some of our financial institutions to get into. If you're looking at a loan to make those improvements to your property. And I'm not necessarily thinking about the homeowner at the moment because I'm not looking at a lot of homeowners with fixed one. But some of the commercial property owners I bumped into are looking at $250,000 expenses for this connection. Which means they're going somewhere to get that money. They're not ready. It might be, this is where first. Chatham, no, I'm saying I'm not sure Chatham's connections, but that might be a good exercise as well. But do we want to be proactive with commercial lenders and say, are you guys interested in something that we can pass along this information to our property owners when the time comes and they're looking for that kind of financial assistance?
I would think they do that on their own. I don't know if I want to get in the banking business personally.
You'd be surprised.
I would think there'd be a problem though, I mean, if we're talking commercial banks, I don't know what their policies are, but I suspect they're not able to lend beyond 5 years. You know, we're talking about 30 term, and a commercial bank is not set up to do that kind of lending. They could probably originate it and sell it off to somebody else, but it's commercial lending policies and you're right to get outside that, the bank won't touch it with a 10-foot pole.
So yeah, I don't know if that's standard. If you have a banking relationship, you can go to them, aside from the mortgage on this property. I need to borrow another 250. That's something you tack onto the mortgage. That's something they can do separately. But just as an enormous amount of borrowing is going to be taking place over the next decade.
No, I realize that. I'm just saying that they're not going to hold it on their balance sheet. They're going to sell it off.
I've always been surprised by a couple of the local banks how much they actually keep in house. That's to say, can they continue to do that at this larger scale? I'm just thinking that homeowners are going to be calling at some point or another.
It's
Some
just
commercial property owners are going to be calling this fall and saying, how do I do this? Where do I get the?
certainly they do it for a specific customer, maybe, but it's going to be just in violation of their asset management policies, asset liability management policies. It's just, look, they fund themselves with deposits. They can't be lending money for 30 years. The deposits can go in a second.
Yeah, no, agreed. Commercial lending isn't designed to be 30-year note anyways, but they had something.
When they were getting to do the connections, actually prior to that, when they were explaining the whole homeowner cost issue in Harwich, the committee that was doing that actually did hold a informational session, and they had 3 local banks come in. Now granted, that was more for residential versus commercial. It was probably flipped percentage wise here. Very few commercial, mostly residential. You've got the opposite here. But they did hold it, and it was more just an informational session, walk through the processes, and this and that, and what's out there, what the rates are that you might be looking at, type of thing. And you know, so they sent a note to the local banks, and the 3 that replied went to that meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking something similar. I don't know that they're creative, gotten creative enough to create a sewer connection fund inside of their rate. That they would borrow to fund and then lend.
I'm not saying that they would be adverse to originating it. I'm just saying it's not going to be something they want to have a business out of holding on their balance sheet. Set up to do that.
Maybe we could, just thinking out loud here, we could contact the Yarmouth Chamber of Commerce and ask the chamber to contact, or put out an RFP, a notice to financial institutions with large, to suggest that over the next many years, sewer system in Yarmouth has become alive. and that there will likely be a need for businesses and homeowners to need financing to make the magic connection between the home and the sewer line. If interested, please come forward. We could have Paula Howard, an information session. We might be able to put together something. Notice to citizens in town, all financial institutions and indicated interest. One of that could be the county Aqua Fund, it could be who knows what else.
4:30. Are you doing it?
So I need to sort of jumpstart the conversation, not just say we should be sort of thinking about this along the way and be helpful as a resource. It's holding the forum and inviting interested financial entities to participate. That's one thing. Passing it off to a business development organization like I think it would make the process of connection less scary, make it easier. If we're pointing at, I just have a feeling, and maybe Mark Forrest should be coming at the next having this conversation. He's pretty, he's our sort of guru on the Aqua Fund. Say, yeah, you know, it's designed for these $10,000 hits from the homeowner, not quarterly dollar hits from the shopping center. And if that's the case, then we should be answer the question is if we were
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a quick question just to make sure I'm aware of the timeline on all this? When is the earliest someone would have to pay a bill for the privilege of having connection to our services?
Sorry, we're repeating just for fun.
I mean,
So you have a connection that's dropped in front of your property. What happens? In terms of Bill's question, the clock starts.
when does the clock start on paying the bills for the sewer system by homeowners?
Paying the bills, I mean, service isn't gonna be available until the plant is up and.
Right, so in my head, that's,
Yeah.
let's just say 2027.
Yeah.
So, I'm just trying to connect all the dots here. So I respect the idea that we want to be an educational resource as well as an actual monitoring resource as the project is underway. But if I'm hearing this correctly, no one's paying a bill for 2.5 years. I'm not sure I quite understand why we'd want to have a forum in the fall.
So I'll draw the distinction a little bit.
Okay.
I was gonna ask Jeff to jump in because he's been through this to some degree in chat. Betterment is a bill. Bill from your contractor to make the connection is a
I
bill.
see.
The bill from the water district or sewer district is another bill.
Right, so there's three different
There's a
kinds of
bunch of bills.
Right, so the bill, okay, so just to
Now-
focus on the construction, that's
The connection
sooner.
triggers, the connection being dropped. Starts a clock for your connection.
Okay.
But at the same time, it creates an encumbrance for the betterment. Right, so that will show up in the next, on your tax bill within the next 6 months if you elect to put it on your tax bill. Or at least you'll get a bill within 6 months of that drop. You can pay it. You want to pay it outright. That's the one bill. And that would be different for everybody. I might get my connection 26 and you might get it 27 and so on. So it's probably a rolling kind of
Okay, now it makes more sense.
notification that, hey, you owe us this money.
Right.
The clock having started on your connection means you gotta go find somebody to do the connection, and typically that's a 2-year window, if not 3, depending what the Board of Health decides. The ultimate,
Need variances.
the ultimate deadline is gonna be, right? On top of the whatever extensions and afford some people for hardships. So that's that second bill. The third bill is ain't gonna start until you actually start sending sewage, right? And even then, my experience with sewer bills is they're quarterly bills. Right? You gotta send them 3 months worth of septic before you get a bill.
Got it.
So what years will that hit? All I was interested in the financial discussion is not the betterment, because we know how you can deal with that.
Right.
Is the middle piece, which is, I gotta scramble to find somebody to do this connection. And by the way, my commercial property has 3 separate septic systems. And one of them, actually, all of them are slightly below the connection. So all of them are gonna require a pump. And based on what I'm seeing on the map, which should be on the plans that we've given the public, each property only gets 1 connection. So they gotta hire someone to connect all 3 septic systems from 3 separate pumps to get up the hill to the 1 connection. $250,000.
Got it.
That's the piece I'm sort of trying to foresee somebody addressing on their own. Like I said, I don't think the Aqua Fund's designed for that, but it may be. But if you have a commercial entity and it has commercial paper and it's mortgage, there's a conversation there with that bank. And if not, if you're strong enough, there's a conversation with another institution with a letter of credit. If not, let's figure out who that lender might be. So even if you do have a note with K5, the cooperative bank has decided they want to be in the sewer finance business. By the way, the best collateral in the world. They can take your building away from you, you don't take that from. And what does it take to create a fund like that to the degree that, it's going to cost tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in the next few years? I'm going to go find a source of borrowing money at a certain rate, and then you're administering it to a bunch of other smaller takers for a slightly higher rate, and all of a sudden we have what we used to call the original name for this back in the 90s. Mr. Bishop might remember when we were trying to create an infrastructure bank for a sewer system on Cape Cod. It just happens to be parked at one of our commercial banks, but in the 90s we were talking about creating this entity, it's a public entity. You can go there to borrow this money. They would be the conduit to the market. I just think it's coming.
No, I agree, and I appreciate your explanation, because I needed to connect the different kinds of bills and different timelines, so thank you.
I would hate for Wells Fargo to be that bank when we're basically sitting on a couple of really local institutions. If anybody thinks I made any errors in that explanation, feel free to chime in, because that's just been my.
I'd like to keep the citizens in mind as well as the business. In terms of anything we can do to assist.
It's going to be, this is probably not the most opportune time to do it, but I suspect there's going to be some significant hardship in later phases. Maybe not as much in phase 1, but in later phases. When we do the math, looking at costs all in, a second tax bill. A lot of homeowners. That's going to be problematic for quite a few people. You just have to figure out how to get them to what they can handle it. And planning a year or 2 in advance, you really have to be at least that proactive to when it's coming and to how you. At least that's how I see the role of this committee as well. I mean, we're advising the selectmen, but we're thinking about these issues as they're developing, because those guys are thinking about 30 other issues as the selectmen.
But they will hear from constituents.
Right, and to be honest, my mother does not know what's coming. And, when she does finally find out what's coming, it's going to be, I don't want it to be a cacophony. Voices.
Well, I think it's what voted down the last time we tried to. People finally realized the expense.
Fair enough. Yeah. I don't want to take us too far down that road today, but If you guys want to leave this on the agenda, we could be having this discussion. The next few meetings. If there's nothing else, I want to approve some minutes as they were sent out. Are you a friend or are you a commenter?
I'm a friend.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have two really significant announcements to share with the group today. A number of months ago, the Friends of Bass River, in partnership with County Yarmouth, applied for a CZM grant to fund construction of the Upper Bass River wetlands and replacement bridge at Ware Road. And we were successfully funded to the tune of $4.7 million 2 weeks ago, which is really significant. That will get this project way down the road. It's a very, very significant step for us. Second announcement is that those of you at town meeting the other night, our CPC application was successfully funded to the tune of $217,000. That is to fund studying the Run Pond Road Pond directly adjacent to the Bass River Beach parking lot. I would argue that's the least healthy water body in all of the town. What I have done subsequent to that is invited Tom Ardito, who is the executive director for the SNEP program, Southern New England Estuaries Program, to come down on Monday, the 13th, to tour our Upper Bass River project. He was the first program that funded us to get our program off the ground to the tune of almost $300,000. I'm going to take him to the Run Pond Road project to get at least apply for additional funding for that project. It's significant to the town in that it's at the end of the pipe on the South Shore Drive project. And it's a very, very dense neighborhood to the west of that. So we've taken the steps to get that underway. And it's something that Carl Von Hoen looked at for probably 30 years and never could get any traction. But we have the traction now. We're going to go forward with that. So it's my next Friends of Bass River project. It flows directly into Bass River.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, we missed that board meeting. We're not calling it the Run Pond project, we're calling it the Stinky Pond. From now on.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think we'll be marketing as a visitor destination.
Former Sticky Pond.
Someday. All right, thanks guys for that. Back to the minutes. Any motion to accept the minutes from April?
I so moved that we accept the minutes from the rec meeting of April 1st, 2020.
Mark seconds. Since Lee is out, Lee?
Second.
It's okay with you?
Yeah, they're good.
John? Mark? David? Lee? Mary? George? Will?
Yes.
Myself. And next meeting, Monday, June.
Karen, Emily.
It's not there. Thursday. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, can we talk about July and August? Are you intending to meet on July 1st or July the 8th? And I think it's reasonable to have the conversation now, so we don't wake up on June and go, hey, when are we gonna have a meeting in July? You don't mind.
At the committee's discretion, I don't have a preference, but at the same time, I seem to recall that we may have taken July off in the past.
I don't know.
So why don't we wait till June's meeting to see if there's a compelling reason to meet July? I mean, if we lose a small construction team in the fall and South Yarmouth.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I didn't know I've only joined since in October, so.
Or worse, the North Main Street. If he wants to come see us in July, we might want to be here.
I see. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So Chairman, I just want to note that on June 3rd, I was just called for jury. So I'll have to report that day. So I'll have a report if maybe later.
I'm actually not going to be here either.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to consider delaying it a week.
I'm happy to delay if you guys are having a problem being here, so unless it's federal, it'll probably get out.
It's federal.
It's
It's for 2 weeks, but I'll have a report prepared and if somebody can.
Knowing that, why don't we just defer it?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if these guys have any problem on the third, is the tenth, acceptable? Yeah. Which brings us closer to July, which makes July less likely, because
I hear you.
I guess.
So June 10th, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn. Second. Anyone wants to stay any longer today? So, John? Mark, David, Leo, okay to adjourn?
Yeah.
Mary?
Aye.
George? Will?
Aye.
Thanks.
Who's mentioned that?
I understand. I look forward to seeing your.